DreamWorks Animation was always a company that pushed to make things yearly that would bring a new and fresh face to a genre usually owned by Disney. Sometimes they were better storytellers, other times they would outperform them at the box office. Just as there is PC versus Mac, there was Disney's Animation versus DreamWorks Animation. That is, until DreamWorks Animation was tossed around like a hot potato in the middle of the decade. These are sequels that were dashed as DreamWorks fell into economic distress. With parent company DreamWorks spinning down the drain, offers came from everywhere. Sony wanted to distribute some films in 2015 to take the mantle. SoftBank wanted to acquire it for $3.4 billion. Then Hasbro wanted to merge to create a company called DreamWorks Hasbro. So, DreamWorks Animation floated in the ether until everyone's favorite company, Comcast, pulled the studio into its camp for $3.8 billion in 2016, and in the same year, laid off hundreds of employees from the animation company. And since then, everything's changed. Under Comcast ownership, as of May 2018, DreamWorks Animation has since released 3 films: Boss Baby, Captain Underpants, and Trolls. All 3 of these have one thing in particular. None of them are from established properties, and that's quite confusing from a potential revenue perspective. Let me just jog your memory for a bit. DreamWorks Animation, just prior to the mid-2010s, had a number of properties worth potential gold mines. The original Puss in Boots film, released in 2010, made over $500 million on a $130 million budget. That's comparable to the success of The Lego Movie, a film that spawned a cinematic universe. By late 2012, a number of scripts for the sequel had been developed, delving into an exotic adventure story. By 2014, Antonio Banderas, the voice of Puss himself, confirmed the sequel was in production, and in the same year, the film got a name. Puss in Boots II, 9 Lives, and 40 Thieves had a projected release of November 2nd, 2018. Yeah, that means we would have gotten a sequel to the awesome character's story this fall. The release date was moved to December 21st, 2018, becoming a holiday 2018 release, but was then lost in the shuffle during the company's restructuring and has yet to be returned to. The Madagascar franchise, though long in the tooth, was still making massive amounts of revenue, on par with some of Pixar's films. The last film, Madagascar, Europe's Most Wanted, released in 2012 and made nearly $750 million on a $145 million budget. Those box office results are larger than films like Moana and Monsters University. Madagascar 4 had a projected release of May 18th, 2018, meaning the team would have been in theaters this May. The 4th installment seemed to have been approached hesitantly by DreamWorks, with the company's vice president of marketing at the time saying, quote, "There hasn't been a lot of discussion on that," end quote, and one of the film's directors saying, quote, "The world has to want it." The company went into restructuring just a couple years later, and unlike the Puss in Boots sequel, which has gotten a name, Madagascar 4 had no title and little development as its production was halted. I really find the hesitation quite hilarious. This is a property which was making more and more money every movie, yet there was indecisiveness and hesitation on investing. Kung Fu Panda is the last of these massive properties to get a film, which released as the Comcast DreamWorks Animation deal was being resolved. Kung Fu Panda 3 made $521 million on a $145 million budget. This is another fantastic box office success on par with the Lego Movie, yet there is no urgency on a Kung Fu Panda follow-up, or, as I've been screaming for years, a full-length Furious 5 film that could be of a more mature storytelling style. Kung Fu Panda was a franchise former DreamWorks CEO Jeff Katzenberg described having a potential 3 more films. This isn't as much cancelled as it is brainless. The Croods original film released in 2013 and found success, making over $580 million on a $135 million budget. Its sequel was originally set to release in late 2017 until Comcast arrived and production was halted, then cancelled. But just months before the sequel film's original release date, DreamWorks announced Croods II was back on and actually has a set production date of September 18th, 2020, so this one was actually saved. The Madagascar and Puss in Boots properties were not only gold mines of creative potential and storytelling, but literal gold mines. The first thing that came to my mind was these properties must be too dated to be returned to, but then look at Disney and look at others. Wreck-It Ralph, a film that released in 2012, is getting its sequel now. Monsters, Inc., which released in 2001, got a sequel or prequel 12 years later. Even Gnomeo and Juliet, which came out in 2011, has a sequel, Sherlock Gnomes, which released earlier in 2018. Do I even have to mention Incredibles 1 is 14 years old? Which leads me to the clear conclusion. Comcast doesn't have confidence in what they've just spent billions of dollars on, and because of their lack of confidence, not only have billions of dollars literally leapt out of the window as properties weren't being utilized, but DreamWorks Animation, as its identifiable properties stand, is stuck in stalemate. And yes, they have brought a number of these franchises back through animated series released onto Netflix, but DreamWorks being out of the picture has left a gaping hole in the larger blockbuster budget animation class, giving more control to Disney, Sony, and the nowhere as brilliant Illumination Entertainment. DreamWorks Animation's next film is How to Train Your Dragon 3, which has had a solid release date of March 1st, 2018. This is truly the last leg of the brilliant storytelling DreamWorks we had all once known so well. So guys, I want to see some comments on what you think about those lost sequels, and make sure to vote on this week's Toon Tuesday poll, which is all about this week's weekly report. And since you're doing all that, join the Animation Nation, subscribe for weekly videos, podcasts, and more. And if you liked canceled sequel videos, make sure to hit that like button. I'll make more. Thanks for watching, and enjoy your day, guys.
We hope we've been a pleasant part of your day. We strive for quality and are happy to display this National Association of Broadcasters seal of good practice. We hope you've had a good day and that you'll join us again tomorrow. Good night.